Okay, hello everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started as it just turned 7. I'm very timely today. But for special programming tonight, we have Evan here. He's our elections director, and he's gonna go over kind of everything you need to know about elections because they're coming up.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I mean, wow, this is incredible. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is basically the same presentation that we gave at the call-out. So if you did come to the call-outs, sorry, you're going to be in for the same thing. But just for an overview, we're going to be looking at the expectations, the requirements for office, the petition for candidacy, the election rules, some important dates, and then how we're going to base the campaign and committee communication. And then at the end, I have a lovely QR code for you to scan, fill out some info, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So just starting off, understanding the election rules. It's your responsibility to know, understand, and follow the election rules. This time around for the elections, I've restructured the elections committee a little bit so that you have advisors that will attach to your campaign, just so that you can be helped out in any way if you have any confusion with the election rules, and just to kind of mitigate some of the grievance issues we had last time around. And then another point, just exemplify integrity. You guys give your lovely Senate pledge at the start of every meeting, so you understand this. But just being honest, following the rules, and respecting your fellow candidates, it's super important just to follow that. It is a competition of sorts, but it's important to respect everyone at the end of the day. And then just a point, reach the entire student body. Don't communicate strictly to clubs. A good amount of the student body actually isn't in any club at all. So super important to reach as many of those people as you can. And then finally, communicate. The elections committee can't help you if we don't know what's going on. So if you run into any issues whatsoever, just reach out to us. We're happy to help with anything, in particular me, but also the lovely advisors that I have on my team. So moving on, we've got Senate campaigns, and then if anyone's interested in jumping over to the executive branch, we also have Pres and VP information on this. So for Pres and VP, 1,000 signatures, and then for Senate campaigns, we run it down there. Got to do a petition for candidacy, and then you got to get a certain amount of signatures, 75 or 5%, whichever is less if you are non-exploratory, 25 or 5% if you are exploratory. And then moving on to the petition for candidacy, up at the top right there, that's a snippet of the petition. There's more to it if you get it sent to you, but that's just an idea of what it looks like this year. Just a couple points. Fill out what is applicable to your campaign, and then just please leave the rest blank. We're using the same petition for both Pres, VP, and Senate. So just keep that in mind when you're filling it out. And then for senators, just put your full college name in there if you can, please. And then when you're sending all this information back to me, there's a little bit more documentation that's included, that is needed, rather. And you can see that in the election rules. You'll need to send back to me an initialed copy of the election rules at the top right, each page. And if you're running for Pres or VP, both of the candidates for that need to be on the election rules. And then, like I said before, we got a QR code at the end of the presentation for the petition and rules. And then just to kind of talk about this process a little bit more, once you provide me with all of the information, we're going to send that to SAO. And then once they're like, cool, good to go, I'm going to create a Boiler Link event for your campaign, and then from there you can start collecting signatures. And then if you qualify for everything and it's further approved by SAO, you go on the ballot for the election. So that's a little bit about the petition for candidacy. Election rules. So being in the Senate, you guys saw all the election rules. No article is more important than the other. But these are a few that stood out to me that I think are important. So I want to go through a few of them. So we've got first Article 7 campaign preparation. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could send me a tentative campaign schedule by March 20th. Just helps me figure out what's going on, helps our advisors help you. It doesn't need to be anything strict. You don't need to have your entire campaign figured out by this point. But if you could do that, that would be greatly appreciated. And then another point, so the Elections Committee provides nonpartisan, unbiased marketing to all candidates. And we're happy to do that throughout the entire elections process. And thanks to Purdue Marketing Association, they make it super accessible to be able to push stuff out for the election. All that I ask is that you send stuff to me 48 hours in advance. That allows me to send the stuff to PMA, and then PMA send it back to me, and then from there we push it out. Obviously, that's a lot of time, and then when it becomes elections crunch time, you're going to have stuff that you want to get pushed out very quickly. So I promise I will work with you. Our committee will work with you any step of the way, but just 48 hours is a good rule of thumb. And then just by not notifying me and the elections committee that you don't want to have any information in there, you're waiving your right to that marketing coverage. And then I put in Article 8 there for open campaigning, just so that you take a particular interest into that. And then Article 9, voting, just the do's and don'ts of that. And then Article 10, grievances. So coming back to the restructuring of the committee that I mentioned earlier, we have a group of 6 campaign advisors that are going to be there that have really taken some time, and I really appreciate it, studying the election rules, understanding them. So they're going to be a resource to you to be able to help you out when you get in situations of confusion or you just want guidance in general. But if you are investigating a campaign for a potential infraction of these rules, please inform me directly, and please inform me as soon as possible. I have a little bit more latitude in investigating and understanding what's going on than your campaign might have. So I want to help you and make sure the election is run fairly. So if you end up investigating a campaign, just please reach out to me directly as soon as you can. And then just like I said earlier, just understand the election rules, understand the potential implications of breaking those election rules, and this election is going to go down like really, really smoothly. So I appreciate your care and consideration with that. And then Article 6, finances. You'll see in the election rules that there's a few things that need to be reported to me. Just pay attention to those. Please fill them out carefully, as they're pretty important. So that's just an overview of the election rules. Like I said, please read all the articles in entirety and understand them, but that's just a few things. And then now we're going to move on to important dates. So March 9th is coming up pretty soon. So if you're planning on running, I would highly suggest getting in those petitions as soon as you can and starting that process. And then the 20th, the ballot comes out. 21st, open campaigning, or rather online campaigning begins. 21st to the 24th is when the Elections Committee is mandated to be promoting for the election. However, we're going to be doing it through the entirety of the semester. And then we've got on the 28th, or let's see, sorry about that. 28th, we've got open campaigning. And then we also have the preliminary budget report due. And then on the 2nd, working budget. The 3rd through the 6th is voting. And then also on the 6th is the final budget report due. And then not included on this, but it is on the election rules. The 13th is when we have the results plan to go out. There is an asterisk by it saying grievances may change the date of this, but with the restructuring and then us being able to work together throughout this election, I'm hoping to get them out on the 13th on time. All right, and then so just some campaign committee communication. So that's my email right there. And then I have it noted there, please CC Becca Cownan. That's her email right there. She's my deputy elections director on any correspondence. That just helps me stay in the loop with everything, just in case maybe I missed something. And then I've included my phone number here, but please use this sparingly. The previous elections director has told me that he has received calls at 2 a.m. I love elections, probably not as much as that, though. So I'm happy to help with anything that you might need, but just please use your discretion with that. And then looking through it, committee leadership, I'm the elections director. Becca's the deputy elections director. We've got the campaign advisory subcommittee, the logistics subcommittee, and the marketing subcommittee. This is a group of incredibly fantastic people that I'm super fortunate to have working alongside me in this. And they're going to be there to help you at every step of the way. And so we've reached the end of it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But if you are planning on running, please scan this QR code and fill out the information so I can get the petition to you as soon as possible. So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Yes.
So how do I make my own budget for elections?
So there's requirements in the election rules for the budgeting. I'd have to read a little bit more into it just to understand everything. But yeah, there's enumerated amounts that you can and can't raise. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
But do you have a template or anything if I can look at something?
So yeah, I do have a template. Someone generously gave me a template. I won't name names. He is in the room. So I'm happy to share that with any of the candidates that may need it. So thank you so much to that person. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys.
Some new senators. So to start off the session, we're going to do a little inauguration.
All right, our new senators, can you come to the front? How many? All right, y'all can just stand right here. I'm going to give the mic to y'all. Just raise your right hand and repeat after me. All right. I state your name.
I, Hunter Kashan,
Madison Carnes.
On this 22nd day of February 2023,
on this 22nd day of February 2023,
swear to abide by and uphold
swear to abide by and uphold
the Constitution and the bylaws
the Constitution and the bylaws
of the Purdue Student Government.
of the Purdue Student Government.
I swear to conduct
I swear to conduct
all legislative business
all legislative business
with the utmost integrity
with the utmost integrity
and with the best interests of Purdue University
with the best interests of Purdue University
and its student body
and its student body
as my main objectives.
as my main
All
objectives.
right, congratulations. What's going on? Oh.
Thank you. I might need 2 seconds to figure out what's going on. Lily, does it look like that for you? You know what? It's okay, as long as the rest of it's fine. Okay. Okay. You know what? That's okay, because we can roll with the punches here. Okay, so hello and welcome all at 7:14 p.m. I will now call this meeting to order. If you are a visitor, please state your name and the reason for your being here. Okay, seeing none, we will now move on with proxy reports. So if you are a proxy, please state your name and the senator you are proxying for.
I'm Ashley Morales, and I'm proxy for Senator
Hi, my name is Matthew Clifford, and I'm proxying for Michael Brown for the College of Engineering.
Hello, my name's Avery McGinley, and I'm proxying for Eleanor Denona, I think that's how you say her last name, for the College of Exploratory Studies.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So hearing no more proxies, we can now move into roll call by Secretary Friend.
Senator Ferguson.
Here.
Senator Carnes.
Here.
Senator Hampton.
Here.
Senator Terrell. Senator Scudder.
Here.
Senator Cashon.
Here.
Senator Kirkendall. Senator Diaz.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Senator Bottini.
Here.
Senator Conrad. Senator Alexander.
Here.
Senator DeLucia Green.
Here.
Senator Famua.
Here.
Senator Sexton.
Here.
Senator Ackerman.
Here.
Senator Toshik.
He's on
He's
Zoom. He's
not here.
here.
Senator Bowman.
Here.
Senator Guzman.
Here.
Senator Kirsch.
Here.
Senator Adams.
Here.
Senator De Silva.
Here.
Senator Meade.
Here.
Senator Woodruff.
Here.
Senator Toriani. Senator Whitney. Senator Robinson.
Here.
Senator LaRoche.
Here.
Senator Jane.
Here.
All right, perfect. We will now move into our land acknowledgement. Purdue Student Government acknowledges the traditional homelands of the indigenous people which Purdue University is built upon. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers. Now, Senators, please rise for your pledge of purpose. Our purpose is to be the Very nice, everyone. The meetings for the last minute were distributed. The minutes for the last meeting were distributed to all via SharePoint, and by last meeting I mean last month. Are there any corrections to the minutes at this time? Seeing none, the minutes are now approved. All right, we will now move into executive reports. President Jensen, do you have any?
I do. I'll try to keep this quick, so just bear with me. So I'll kind of go by initiative order. So LIFT, just by the numbers so far, we are just over 1,000 now, so we've had 1,052 people riding with 2,317 rides, and so right now we're looking at expanding the program and kind of what's coined the Purdue Sevens program, looking at going 7 days a week for $7 discount starting at 7 p.m. And so that should go out in the next couple weeks here, so that's really exciting. Hopefully we can get a bigger pool with that as well. And so right now there are kind of some concerns with a large uptick in demand without an equal uptick in supply of lift rides. So then we're seeing a lot of high prices for those of you who have taken an economics class. And so we'll schedule a meeting with Lyft as well as our Lyft team, and then one of our lovely president pro tempores to kind of see what Lyft can do on that end. And then as far as the One Purdue app, Izzy and I are, starting on Friday. We have vendor demos, and so we'll try to see if we're able to send that Zoom link out. And so I know one of them is Friday afternoon, and then the following one is next Friday, and so that they have certain aspects that are kind of student experience presentations. And so we just want to hear feedback on that, and so we'll try to get that sent out to you all. And then one other thing, one of my other things that's coming out soon is there are kind of some concerns about support within the organization. And so we'll be taking a look at that and kind of looking at a task force. Abidemi calls it the PIT crew, which is the PSG Implementation Task Crew. Instead of force for that one, it sticks a little bit better. And so for that, we're kind of looking at organizational structure. How did different people kind of report to different leaders within our organization? I know specifically right now our chief of staff has around 16 direct reports, and that's quite a bit. And so we'll try to get that down to 5, whether that be whether that be like comms and tech under the press secretary, and just looking at kind of different ways to even out that load, as well as even out the communication between different branches. And then we'll also look at support structures, looking at kind of an HR department as well. How do we support each and every one of our members? And so by this task force, it's pretty much every single level of leadership within the organization, from directors to executive directors to the chief of staff, to vice president, president, to senate chairs, non-chairs, to chief justice, justices, and court clerks, having everyone in the room and kind of saying, how can we support from the bottom up as well from the top down? And then another thing is the Wellbeing and Housing Action Council that President Mung announced at the beginning of the year. So Provost Wolf announced, I guess not announced, but kind of told at the Student Life Advisory Board that there's a few housing options coming to that Action Council, and then that choice will kind of be relayed to the Board of Trustees to make that decision. An announcement will be coming, I'm guessing, at the next Board of Trustees meeting, which is in a few months here. And then my last thing, thank you guys for listening to me for a while, is the spring retreat. And so that's more of a spring retreat / an inauguration for all the incoming senators, president, and VP. That's also a thank you to all of our members this year, and then a goodbye and thank you to our seniors as well. That'll be in late April, so just be on the lookout for an RSVP for that as well. Thank you guys for listening to me for 5 minutes at least. Thank you.
All right, so my big executive report has to do with the Slack message I sent out to all of you about ADASH, which stands for A Day at the State House. So coming up on April 4th, there will be an opportunity to go to the Indiana State House, meet with the Lieutenant Governor, speak with legislators, watch a legislative session. You also get a free lunch. Transportation is also free if that entices anyone. It's a great opportunity if you're thinking about going into advocacy work or politics, law, anything like that. Evan's been a big help helping me plan that, so yay. If you're interested, fill out that survey and I'll contact you soon. All right, are there any other executive reports at this time? Yes.
Hey all, so please be filling out your Senate duty spreadsheets. Just make sure that we're as up to date on that as possible. And if you have any questions about outreach events, APFs, space reservations, please reach out for help sooner rather than later so that we don't have a big push of APF space reservation questions all at once. And then as always, if you guys need anything, please let me know.
Yeah.
As usual, if you have anything for the boiler update, message me on Slack. Preferably on by Sunday night. I usually make it Monday morning.
Any other executive reports? All right, seeing none, we can move into committee reports. All right, starting with internal affairs.
Hi, I guess the first update is that I'm now the chair of IA, and other than that, we've been going through the standing rules and the Constitution and the bylaws and try to move things from those to standing rules. So we're just going over the Senate ones right now, and we plan on getting that and court done by the end of the semester.
Financial affairs.
Yeah, so small grants have been great as always. On the legislation, or on the floor tonight, is the legislation updating the rules for next year. We already talked about this in caucus, but if there's any discussion to be had, I hope we can talk about it tonight and that it'll pass.
All right, campus and student resource affairs. Does anyone have updates from Sydney?
CSRA's survey will be going out, if not this week, by next week, trying to get a wide variety of student responses across the board on different campus student resource fair issues. Other than that, their MHA event looks like it's going swimmingly.
Awesome. University academic affairs.
Nothing much from us. We just finished our legislation that's going to be here tonight, and then got all the MHA event things set in place. So we're just going to be doing a lot of our meeting this Sunday and trying to figure out what we're or how to make the stuff that we're going to be doing for MHA.
Perfect. Moving on to ad hoc committee reports.
This is for MHA on behalf of Chair Jaden. We have over 50 clubs involved in MHA now. One of our main MHA events is going to be a big giveaway thing where we're giving away t-shirts and other MHA materials and food. Bandana prepping day will be pretty soon, but still TBD. And we're really close to execution, so everyone is working very hard.
Very nice.
Pride is going great. We are currently in process of going through our survey data as well as some goals that we've pulled out of that and implementing those into a more strategic plan-based piece of legislation that should have 4 to 5 different goals with different sub-strategies underneath those. And you guys should be seeing that, if not in March, by early April.
Disability is also going well. We are currently working on an action plan. Hopefully, our goal is to kind of have that done kind of by the end of March. So we'll see. And we are currently about to meet with the DSU to talk about kind of like shared initiatives and goals. Yeah.
Yes.
BBE is also great. We have a couple interviews under our belt. We're still working to schedule some more with some student organizations. We got some really good outreach from the Black Connection event, which was really great. And then we'll be meeting on Friday to discuss our MHA event. So that'll be fun.
Perfect. Any other reports at this time? All right. Seeing none, we can now move into informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion at this time? All right, seeing none, we can move into old business. Do I hear any old business at this time? Seeing none, we can now move into new business. Do I hear any new business at this time? From anyone? Are we sure? Yeah.
I motion to bring up Bill 2249.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2249, proposal for the creation of a PSG Fraternity, Sorority, and Cooperative Life Interest Committee. This bill is not amendable, but it is debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill and then move to discussion from the floor. Yes.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to start off talking about this bill with just a little bit of history. Before PSG's current structure in Senate, where different colleges had representation in terms of number of seats, it was structured so that different campus organizations had seats. And so at that point in time, one of the big organizations that had representation within PSG was FSCL. Then over time, that structure changed just for what made more sense on campus. But what kind of happened with that was a shift away from a reach to different organizations and having that direct connection to different specific groups of students. And so this is one way that I'm hoping that we can reach back out to one of the larger organizations on campus. So the idea behind the FSCL ad hoc committee is to bring together members of the FSCL community and non-members of the FSCL community to talk about both issues within that community and issues with the broader campus. It's to create more of a direct line of communication between PSG and FSCL. And then it's also supposed to create a space to understand where some of the differences are between the committees and where some of the inequities are between different councils within FSCL. So my hope for this committee is that it will be larger. I know most of our ad hoc committees have under 20 members. My hope is to have 10 to 15 members from each of the 5 councils. So it would be a big space where people can write legislation, throw around ideas. So I'd love to open it up for discussion.
Is there any other discussion at this time? I think it's a great idea, personally. All right. So seeing no further discussion, we will now move to a vote on Bill 2249. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstention? All right, please mark that into SharePoint. But I can go ahead and tell you with a vote of 27 to 0, Bill 2249 passes. Congratulations, Andrew. Okay, do I hear any other new business at this time? Yes.
A motion to bring up Bill 2250.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2250, the Supreme Court appointment of Justice Grace Towsey. This bill is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill and then move into discussion from the floor. So Robert, would you like to start?
Yeah, so we had a justice step down last week, and we had some applications for our clerks to fill out, although the majority of our decision making was based off of history on court and past commitment to court. So for us, the justices that met that weekend made a very easy decision to choose Grace, who has been with us for over a year now. And she has very good work ethic and has been very committed to our court and has been a very valuable member and has been not afraid to voice her opinion even as a clerk, and we thought that was a very good quality to bring to the justice panel.
Lovely. Is there any other discussion or questions we'd like to ask Grace? Okay. Seeing none, we can go ahead and move to a vote on Bill 2250. But Grace, can you step out? I almost got it right, you guys. Okay. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? All right. Go ahead and write that into SharePoint. All right, with a vote of 27 to 0, Bill 2250 passes. Congratulations, Grace. Do I hear any new business? Yes.
Motion to bring up Bill 2251.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2251, PSG Small Grant Action Plan Update. This bill is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill, and then we can move into discussion from the floor. Would any of the authors wish to start first? Yes.
I would like to propose a friendly amendment. I already sent it to Katie, but it is to strike the fifth clause in restrictions and then to also change in the conclusion from 2022 to 2023 to the current next year.
Perfect. If all the authors are good with that, I think we can go with it. Any other discussion? Yes.
Shai, do you think you could potentially go through a little bit just for the recording, some of the updates for the, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I kind of spoke about this in caucus, of course, but the two major changes to the guidelines are that organizations will be able to apply for one grant, but it can fund multiple events throughout the semester as long as it doesn't exceed $500. And then there was a little bit of confusion on my part this semester with a gift clause in the restrictions of things we will not fund. And so we just kind of clarified that in the guidelines. Yeah, I think those are the two major changes that I talked about in caucus as well.
Perfect. Is there any other discussion at this time? Yeah, Sean. Would somebody like to yield some time to Treasurer Wiseman? Yes.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to Treasurer Wiseman.
Can you just repeat the amendments slowly so I can read them?
Yeah, so the First Amendment is striking the fifth clause in restrictions just because it's repetitive. It says we will not fund over, or applications requesting over 200 will not be funded, and that's set in, like, I think the second line item. And then in the conclusion, it just has the years wrong. So it has this year instead of 2023 to 2024.
Would somebody like to yield more time to Treasurer Wiseman?
I yield a minute of my time to Treasurer Wiseman.
I just want to clarify, we talked about this a little. Is this effective immediately or effective in the fall?
The fall.
Perfect. Is there any other discussion at this time? All right. Seeing none, we can now move to a vote on Bill 2251. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstention? All right, go ahead and mark that into SharePoint. But with the vote of 27 to 0 to 0, Bill 2251 passes. Congratulations. All right, do I hear any more new business? Yes.
Motion to bring up Bill 2252.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2252, the creation of PSG Ad Hoc Committee for Parking Advocacy. This bill is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will begin with discussion from the authors of the bill, and then we can move into discussion from the floor. So, Robert, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I came up with this committee because I know, as well as many of you all do, that parking is a pretty major issue that a lot of students have on campus. So one of the things that we wanted to do was kind of allow for students to kind of have some way for us to advocate for them to parking services on their behalf. And just in my position as Chief Justice, I've had a lot of communication with parking services, so I thought it would be really helpful for me to kind of assist in the creation of this committee, and hopefully we can get some policy changes as a result of that.
All right, yes.
So I think this is a great idea. When we had the programming and we had the head of parking come in and talk, it seemed like there may not be too much that students can really do as far as changing parking policies on campus. I know that that's the goal of this committee, but what exactly do you think, are people from the parking, higher up in the university from parking, are they open to this committee? Are they in favor of it? Are they wanting to get the input? Or is this something that just Senate or just PSG is doing? Are we in cahoots, I guess, with the parking and university?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I will say I haven't spoken to Stephen from Parking Services about a committee specifically, although I have spoken to him about students advocating for changes on campus, and he has been very open to students advocating for change. He just says that he hasn't heard many specific things. I will say that I can't go into too much specifics, but there are some changes that are in the works that are already coming out of a result of some of our advocacy and some of the people that we've seen come through our court, and they've advocated for specific changes that they weren't happy with specific policies that were in place. So I can say that there very well might already be changes that have come as a result of new management at Parking Services. So I'm really just hoping to capitalize on that and then try to keep that momentum going forward and maybe allow students to have even more change that goes in Parking Services. But I will say that it's not like a brick wall like it may have used to be in the past.
Is there any other discussion at this time? All right. Seeing none, we can now move to a vote on Bill 2252. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstention? All right, please mark that into SharePoint. But with a vote of 27 to 0 to 0, Bill 2252 passes. Congratulations, Robert. All right, do I hear any other new business? Yes.
Motion bring up Bill 2250, or Resolution 2253, excuse me.
Second. Perfect. It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2253, resolution to include MEPS policy, students' expectations, rights, and responsibilities into all syllabi. This resolution is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors, and then we will move into discussion from the floor. So would any of the authors wish to begin? Yes.
Yeah, so this is basically a resolution talking about adding the MEPS policy into all syllabi from all the professors, and also making it known that at the beginning of each semester they need to actually vocalize the existence of MEPS. It's a new policy, it's really important, and it's really something that a lot of students can utilize, so it needs to be known if it's a big change. So that's the basis of this. It's really a step in the right direction as far as MEPS policies go. I think that's a big concern in the UAA committee right now. It's basically clarifying what MEPS is to students and how you can use it and how you can't use it. I think there are a lot of requests being sent to ODOS right now that are being denied, and maybe it's for misinformation. Obviously, we want to in the future target any other miscommunications between ODOS and the understanding of the MeEPS policy. We want to target those and maybe come with further legislation in the future that maybe changes the MeEPS policy, but this is kind of the start that we want to make sure that if it's clarification between students and the understanding of MeEPS, we want to make sure that that's cleared up first before we start looking at other problems that may exist.
Any other discussion at this time? Yes, Senator Bowman.
And could you just say real quick again what MeEPS is/stands for?
Yeah, so it's the medical excuse absence policy for students. So basically, a student can send their documentation of a emergency room or urgent care hospital visit to ODOS, and then ODOS will then send that information to the professor, telling the professor how long the student has been said that they can miss class and miss work. And then that's when the professor then works with the student to get that work made up in a timely manner that makes sense for the student and the instructor to together.
Thank you.
Any other discussion at this time? Yes.
I just want to thank both UAA as well as FA for their legislation earlier. I think that these are both two really, really well done pieces of legislation that I'm just really excited to see them on the floor. MeEPS specifically, because this has been, MeEPS as a policy has been through PSG for a few years, so this isn't something new coming through PSG. It's something that's continuously being advocated for, and so I think it's really important that this isn't a project that's stopped year after year. It's something that's been a continuous improvement upon the university.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great way to integrate it back in for the students. Is there any other discussion at this time? All right, seeing none, we can now move to a vote on Resolution 2253. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstention? All right, go ahead and mark that into SharePoint. Make sure you're writing or you're putting resolution and not bills. But with the vote of 27 to 0, Resolution 2253 passes. So congratulations. Do I hear any further new business? Seeing none, we can now move into announcements. Do I hear any announcements at this time? I have one. We have more Senate snaps, so feel free to give them all out. All right, if there's announcement?
I forgot to give SAFER updates during ad hoc committee updates. So sorry, everyone.
Something was missing.
SAFER is working on a sexual violence prevention roundtable where we're inviting different interested groups across campus as well as different administrators to come to be able to just create an open dialogue around sexual violence prevention on campus, as well as we are working on a few different pieces of legislation coming through.
Perfect. And do you have an announcement?
I do. So during Mental Health Action Week, I believe there's going to be a town hall held, and it's led by Braden and Abidemi, and it's focused on safety and procedure, kind of in wake of what happened at MSU. So just be on the lookout for that, and we'd love to have you guys all there as well.
All right, any further announcements? All right, seeing none, we can now move to Senate Snaps. So for any of our newcomers, Senate Snaps is a way to recognize the hard work of others within PSG. So would anybody like to give out a snap? Yes.
I'm gonna give one to Shy Robinson. Domino's pizza breath is not, it stank, and so she gave me gum so I can neutralize it. So
Co-snap on that.
Yeah.
Snaps from everyone. Yes.
I'd like to give out snaps to the UAA committee. This is our first piece of legislation that we've gotten for this school year, and I think we've had a lot of faculty kind of shoot down some of our ideas that we still want to look into, but it's been frustrating, and I think this is the first real traction that we've had on something, and it feels like we're in a step in the right direction. So I just wanted to give snaps to everyone in UAA.
Perfect. Yes.
I want to give out a snap for Gabby, new IA chair, because we're all really happy to have her. I would like to give a snap to our new Senator, Hunter. I appreciate you stepping up and filling in our vacancy for the College of Education. So welcome to Senate.
Yes. I'd like to give a snap to all of FA. I know we had some confusion during small grants and deliberations talking about some of the gift policy, so I'm really glad that we got to talk about that. And then again, snaps to Shy for the gum. Solid man.
Also snaps to our new senator for the College of Ag, Madison. I know that you jumped into this not really knowing what you were getting into right away, but thank you so much for being here.
Sorry, I gotta get Shy first. I know where this is going.
Yeah, since everyone's doing new senator little snaps, Dominic, welcome to CLA.
Andrew?
Snaps to Matthew Clifford for proxying his second session in a row, and hopefully he'll get appointed to engineering pretty soon.
All right. Any other snaps? Yes.
I'd like to give a snap to the people who wrote Resolution 2253. As an education major, I find it really helpful. Life happens as when you're a student, so being able to have that in the syllabus to go back to is always nice to have.
Yeah, very true. Any more snaps? All right. Seeing no further announcements of snaps, the chair would recognize a motion to adjourn. Yes.
Madam Chair, I do now motion that we adjourn.
Second. All right, it's been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn the meeting. It's not amendable, it's not debatable, it requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.